far as murder, I don't recall any cases. I don't think I list any in the book. Actually, I just don't. I don't think I know of any cases like that.
Of course, you might not.
That's true.
Because
That's true. How would
the
anyone
old
know?
saying goes, dead men tell no tales.
How would anyone know?
Yes. First time caller line, you're on the air with Jim Keith. Hello.
Hi. So glad to talk to you. Let me tell you about something that I saw, and then you tell me.
All right, where are you, dear?
Oh, I'm in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay.
About 1987, something like that, on a 60-minute program, maybe even 2020, they were conducting an interview with a man who, the story was about him having cancer.
Yes.
Because he worked at a government plant or contracted plant somewhere in the mid-north, and I don't remember where.
Right.
And he was complaining that he had not been told that anything he was working with could create, a safety hazard.
Right.
And he mentioned something along the lines of EMI or energy transmission device, something like that. While he's talking, there's a picture in a picture, top left-hand corner. It's on for 1 or 2 seconds. It's a photograph taken from a telephoto lens showing it's a boomerang shape. It is not as wide as a boomerang, okay, but it's a boomerang shape, a little narrower.
Yes.
And it's luminescent.
Yes.
There's 2 helicopters carrying it. It's one on each side of it. And I don't know how wide a helicopter, span is or anything. But there's 2 helicopters carrying it, and it's a still photo. It was up there for 2 seconds. Okay, everybody is paying attention to what the man's saying, and I'm looking at the television screen going, what is that? We don't have any of those. I wonder if this is not part of some of these aircraft that are being seen. Perhaps not the whole craft, but part of it. Because it was literally luminescent. It wasn't gleaming like chrome or anything like that, and it was a daylight photo.
Does this in any way relate to the Men in Black?
Well, point being is there was no news coverage. There was no mention of it. I couldn't find anybody else that had seen it, and I certainly did wonder if the Men in Black did not pay a visit that very day and maybe even make a telephone call first. So you better have it ready when we get there. Would that be a reason why you would not hear anything? If you see something like that you've never seen before, well, the aurora comes to mind, but I don't know what the aurora looks like.
Well, here's a theory, and let's run this by Jim. Jim, could it be that the Men in Black don't show up when you get stories that sort of add to the lore and the whoever it is that's controlling all this, doesn't mind. They virtually want it out. But when somebody really gets close to something that's real, then the Men in Black show up. Could that be?
Good call, Art.
All right. We'll be right back. We're going to break here at the top of the hour, and I'll tell you what I would like after the top of the hour. I am going to screen some calls now, and I want only those of you who have encountered Men in Black to call. And ask and ye shall receive. I said only calls now from people who have actually encountered a Man in Black. And lo and behold, the phone lines are full now of nothing but. And normally I would go to commercial now and get those out of the way. But instead, I've got a caller on a cell phone way out there someplace or another. So, Jim, I'm going to quickly bring him online. And, caller, you're on the air. Where are you calling from?
Morning, Art. This is Greg in Anchorage. How you doing?
Fine, Greg. What's going on?
Well, a number of years ago, I was a nurse at the University of Utah down in Salt Lake City. I worked on the med-surgical floor up there. And one weekend, I happened to be taking care of a patient. Are you familiar with Dugway Proving Ground?
I am.
Indeed.
I was taking care of a patient. I imagine he must have been Army. He had short cropped hair. He had broken his leg while out at Dugway working with something that he didn't want to talk about. Okay. And, me, I'm kind of nosy. I would try to get it out of him, never did.
Sure.
So, anyways, that day, he knew he was going to be transferred. That day, 2 guys show up. Now, they weren't wearing sunglasses, but they were wearing suits. And they were rather intimidating-looking individuals. But they came to pick him up. Now, you would have figured Dugway, Army, they would have been Army corpsmen or something like that. Mm-hmm. But these guys show up. They're in suits, civilian clothing. They wouldn't say where they were taking them. As a matter of fact, at hospitals, when you transfer a patient, this is what I thought was really peculiar. You normally will give copies of records for it to go along with the patient.
Medical records, yes.
Right. They refused to allow the originals to remain at the facility. As a matter of fact, they would not leave the nursing floor with the patient. They kept them on a gurney until they talked with my nurse manager, and they pulled her off to the side. Next thing you know, she handed him the records, and he was gone and was just disappeared,
So, okay.
Nobody knew where he was going. Took the records. We had no records of him ever being there.
All right. So, medical men in black.
Yeah, so there's a good example of your basic governmentally connected men in black. That's one of the major categories. If you'd like, Art, I've got a pretty cool Dugway Proving Ground story.
All right. Coming up after the commercial break, all right?
Okay.
Let me go and do that. I wanted to let him tell that story because he was on cellular from Alaska.
The story I wanted to tell is kind of tangential to the men in black in that it has to do with government cover-up, specifically at Dugway, and it also has to do with cattle mutilation.
Oh?
Yeah. Now, usually when we hear media representations of cattle mutilations, they're always connected to UFOs.
Generally.
But in fact, in terms of my research, it seems that black helicopters are just as often observed during these incidents.
That is true.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying there's not a paranormal element, but there are clues to another thing here, which is government involvement. It's been found that many mutilated cattle have nicotine in their bloodstreams.
Excuse me, nicotine?
Nicotine. And what that is the most common ingredient that is used in tranquilizer guns. And also, many of these cattle have been marked with fluorescent paint, apparently for identification.
Wait. Nicotine... I always thought nicotine increased heart rate, was kind of like a cup of coffee.
Well, I'm told that nicotine is used in tranquilizer guns.
I'll be darned.
I'm not an expert on it.
Okay.
But they've been marked with fluorescent paint, but also it's been found that a lot of these cattle have been infected with Clostridium bacteria. Have you heard that, Art?
No, what is that?
Okay. Clostridium is a biowarfare agent that the CIA has admitted to stockpiling.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And the most, along with this, the most horrific thing that I know about the mutilations came from workers at Dugway. And that is that they stated that cattle have been used in the testing of a specifically anti-ethnic warfare agent due to a similarity in the membrane of the cow's eye. And that comes from real guys at Dugway.
Anti-ethnic?
Anti-ethnic. Specifically an anti-Oriental biowarfare agent.
It's interesting you should say that because I've got a fax here that says, Art, you may have covered this already, but I've read that most men in black are of Asian origin.
A lot of them are. Or a lot of them look Asian. I don't necessarily think that they're Orientals because there are other factors involved here too. Many of them have very long fingers, elongated faces. Their temperatures are cold. But indeed, that Oriental or even Tahitian features is a very common element in Men in Black stories.
Well, I suppose that anything that would describe a being or a person with slitted or slanted eyes might be described by most people in a generalized way as Oriental.
It could be.
Yeah, okay. First-time caller line. You're on the air with Jim Keith. Hi.
Hi, Art. This is Gina from Sacramento.
Hello, Gina.
Hi, and thank you for your service. I love it. Anyway, I wanted to tell you a strange story. I was in the midst of starting up my own little contactee support group back in 1991.
Your phone is breaking up on us a little, hon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you going to be able to deal with that?
I think so.
Okay, I'm sorry. We just moved, and it's not the best right now. But I'll go ahead and make my phone call short.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, I was starting my own group, and I was living with my ex-husband in some small cottages in our Midtown area. And one very early morning, just after my husband left for work, I was in that kind of state of twilight consciousness.
Sure.
And a very sudden paralysis came over me. I fought it with everything I could, and before my eyes could finally get open, I just, out of the corner of my eye, saw a very tall, whitish gray man with these bright red, looked like painted lips. And the suit was jet black, and there was a very tall black top hat. It reminded me of a very tall cowboy hat. I don't recall any eyes, but